have Kim Brady, talked to many times, Nikola CFO. And Kim, I appreciate you coming on, as always with these. Obviously, it's been a big year for Nikola. I think successes in terms of, paving the way on sort of the vision. So I think maybe let's just start there. I mean, like when we think about 2021, let's just think about the targets that were set, and of course chip shortage and everything else, and maybe sort of how you're executing, and what you think have been some of the I think the clear highs.
And and I'm excited to be on the Buyers Chat this morning. 2021 has been a challenging year. However, we have very much focused on execution, and we are delivering on execution. What we have stated is that in Q4 we would deliver up to 25 what we call pre-production trucks, meaning these are pre-series, and that we will actually start production by end of March. And we are on target to accomplish that. I think you already know that we have both Gamma and Prius pre-series trucks on the road, accumulating miles on public road, and they are going through extensive validation and testing. And our manufacturing facility have been working hard to build the trucks. And so, we were very careful when we said up to 25 trucks, because we feel confident in terms of we will be able to build those trucks and have them offline. We are working with customers as well as dealers in terms of schedule as to when they would actually receive those trucks. And we have also made an announcement about next week, TTSI, a port operator where we'll be delivering a couple of battery electric trucks at the port. And we're pretty excited about that too. So this year has been very much focused on execution and meeting milestones that we have promised. Of course, supply chain continues to be a challenge. And we talked about previously on our earnings call that when it comes to battery allocation, still that's very tight. And battery modules and packs, that's important for us, making sure that we are receiving enough packs for our trucks, as well as there are constraints with respect to e-axle, as well as chips. And so we are working through those challenges. And we think some of those challenges will be worked through by Q1 of 2022. And we are trying to receive confirmation from our suppliers, key critical component suppliers, in terms of the timing as well as the quantity, so that we have a clarity as to what we can build each quarter for next year.
Great. So, maybe could we also just talk about the build out in terms of the factory in Arizona? Where are we? What sort of the goals over the next year?
That's something that we have been pleased about. As you're aware, we broke ground in July of 2020, and we completed our phase 0.5 by July of 2021, and we have completed phase 1 by December. What that means is that simply we now have manufacturing capacity to build 2,500 trucks at Coolidge, Arizona. And we have kicked off our phase 2 expansion, and then phase 2 expansion will be completed by end of 2022. At that point, we should have manufacturing capacity of 20,000 units running 2 shifts. We'll kick off our phase 3 expansion beginning of 2023, and that will be completed by the end of 2023. And at that point, we should have manufacturing capacity of 50,000 units. Our biggest challenge is not about ramping up our manufacturing capacity, it's availability of key components. And so our constraint going into 2022 is really about what key critical components are available and how many trucks can we build. And we know that there will be fewer than what our manufacturing capacity is.
And talk about potential customers Obviously they're always coming by the facility all the time. You're engaged with them. How has that changed, especially when we're thinking about the vision on hydrogen? If even if I think back a year ago or 18 months ago to where it is today, how have those conversations changed?
We have two products. As you know, we have Nikola Tre BEV for short haul, metro operation and distribution, and drayage operations. And that's the truck that we're building now and will be delivering to our dealers as well as customers in Q4 as well as Q1 and into 2022. As you know, customers are excited. The fact that now we have what we call pre-series production version of the truck. And so these are real truck that will be tested on public roads hauling freight. And so you'll be operated in the environment. Many of our truck customers, what they're looking for is to be able to test for 90 to 120 days. And then based on meeting operating parameters, there will be follow-on orders. So what you have seen is that we have announced several LOIs this year, and all of those LOIs describe some pilot testing and operating parameters with respect to uptime and reliability that we need to meet, and then the follow-on volume. And we anticipate most of our LOIs will be structured similarly. And we have a number of discussions that are going on with customers, potential customers right now. And there are certain segments of those discussions where those discussions are at final stage. When we say final stage, very close signing LOIs. And we have some LOIs that have been signed, and then ultimately that will get announced. And so customers are getting excited because they are getting a real truck. And what's great about Nikola Tre BEV is that it's really a European design, flat nose, shorter wheelbase, tighter turning radius, and longer range. We are talking about 300 to 350 mile range. And so customers are excited to test our truck because it's ideal for short haul application. And so when they think about now being able to order trucks, and they are really excited because until now we have talked about alpha version, beta version, gamma version, and now we have trucks that we can actually deliver to our dealers and customers. When it comes to fuel cell trucks, as you know, we have built 7 Nikola Tre fuel cell alpha, 2 in Ulm, Germany, 5 here in Arizona, and they are going through validation testing. We have committed to place them in customers' hand. In January, they will go to Anheuser-Busch for road testing and hauling beer, and then a couple will go to TTSI for the port operation. And so we are really excited about our fuel cell truck because it's ideal for medium haul application. But it can also be ideal for port operations where they run trucks 20 hours a day and it's slip seating arrangement. And so when one shift is done, essentially you got a second driver using that same truck within 15 minutes. And so as long as fuel is available, potentially as long as you have the right type of truck, such as Nikola Tre fuel cell, where you have capability of going to perhaps 500-mile range, yet at the same time, it could be used for short haul operations. And so we think we've got a very flexible product. We're excited about it. Next year, we'll likely build anywhere from 15 to 20 beta version of Nikola Tre fuel cell. And then beginning of 2023, it will be the gamma version, and we go into production in the second half of 2023. So we think we will have 2 products that addresses both short haul and medium haul applications. And we would submit to you that there's no competitor that's out there are able to bring 2 products to be able to address both short haul and medium haul, especially by 2023. Our fuel cell truck is purpose built. So it's not just fuel cell system, which we partner with Bosch, which is absolutely critical to scale and industrialize so we can drop the price down for our fuel cell system module. But it is complete electric truck, meaning we have electric drivetrain, electric e-motor, electric e-axle, inverters, and all the software for vehicle control. So we do think we have, most advanced fuel cell truck that we'll have on the marketplace.
And how important is that validation process, especially as Anheuser starts to actually deploy those? I mean, talk about that in terms of the broader opportunity.
The testing is critical. Of course, we do our own validation before a truck is delivered. And then once truck is delivered with customers, they prefer to test in their own native environment. And that's really important because every customer has their own duty cycle and their own needs, and they want to make sure that they're able to run the trucks in their environment for a period of time to ensure that you have right level of uptime and reliability. And for commercial trucks, that's really the key. While customers are super excited by zero emission vehicles, they're nervous about the new technology and when will the vehicles hold and will they run 10, 12 hours a day to meet their operating environment. And we are excited. Now we are able to deliver our battery electric truck, and then we are able to put our fuel cell truck in trial. And so we are super excited because we think we got a great product, and ultimately that's got to show in the customer's environment. And we think we will have great feedback.
And what's the biggest challenge? I mean, obviously you've been through, your shared challenges. Feels like you're kind of getting onto the other side, almost an inflection point, potential positive. As we look out in 2022, I mean, maybe just talking about what the big opportunity, maybe what the biggest challenge is.
And we are putting things behind us. As you know, we have talked about it our last earnings call. We will have the SEC settlement completely behind us by end of December, and we're on track to do that. When we think about going into 2022 and 2003, we have met the milestones, making sure that we are in the position to manufacture trucks, pre-series build, and we'll be on target to meet our start of operations for Nikola BEV. The biggest challenge heading into 2022 and 2023 is that we have enough manufacturing capacity, yet we do not have enough key components to meet our desired target in terms of being able to build as many vehicles as we would like. And this is a worldwide challenge, right? When you think about battery cell allocations, as you know, that's been incredibly tight from battery cell suppliers, and there are only 4 or 5 major suppliers who are essentially making conscious decision about how many cells that they can allocate. And we hope that they're all adding capacity for 2024, but 2022 and 2003 will still remain tight. Many of their customers are power tool customers. And as you know, the home repair market has been absolutely crazy for the last couple of years. To the extent that that slows down, I think there will be additional cells available for e-mobility market. And we hope that's the case for second half of 2022 and 2023. But we are working with our key suppliers, key critical suppliers. And those are really cell suppliers, modules and packs, chip suppliers for vehicle head unit, as well as, e-axle. And so we're trying to make sure that by the time we get to start of production in March of 2022, we have those issues resolved and we can provide as much clarity to market in terms of what we can build, and then support the build by showing LOIs for that demand. We know that that's lower than what we have a capability of building because our manufacturing capacity in Coolidge for next year is 2,500 units.
But does it feel like, from a chip shortage or component perspective, it's starting to moderate as we go into early next year? Does it feel like that?
We are going to get more visibility as to what they're willing to allocate for the whole year. And then the timing in terms of when and the quantity. As you know, to plan our build, we need to have a clear understanding of what they can allocate and ship to us each month and each quarter. That's really critical. And that's still being worked out. And we're trying to make sure that we have more volume allocated to us first half than the second half. All of our chip suppliers are stating that second half will be much better than first half. So first half, we are going to be limited in terms of what we can build. Second half is going to be much slower. What I predict is that second quarter will be better than first quarter, third quarter will be better than second quarter, and fourth quarter will be better than third quarter, just based on constraints with respect to key critical components.
Mm. And I know, like me, you've talked about it so far, but is it just sometimes, like from a supplier perspective, it changes so quickly? It's been so hard, especially where you are in terms of just the process with building, the tray, and then you're trying to get those to customers.
Struggle, especially when you think about whenever you have new product introduction. And so for electric vehicle, electric trucks, those are complicated products. And the fact that whenever you have MPI, that process can be complex and challenging. And on top of that, you have COVID, and then you have worldwide supply shortage. We have never faced supply shortage like this in the last 50 years. And so, of course, it's difficult. However, we have been pretty resolute in terms of our focus and hitting milestones, and we're hitting milestones. While we're not delivering as many trucks as we would like, we are hitting important milestones of being able to deliver trucks, and then making sure that we got supply chain constraints resolved in a manner that we can have meaningful deliveries for next year. And we are going to provide visibility as part of our Q4 earnings call in late February when we report Q4 as well as 2002 guidance. We want to be pretty transparent in terms of here's our manufacturing capacity, but here's the number of trucks that we can build. However, we have locked down key critical components. And by the way, here's the demand backing what we'll build. And so we are going to be able to share that visibility. And we're excited about 2022 and 2003. We have a wonderful tray BEV short haul applications, and we think we are going to receive very favorable review. And we have fuel cell trucks well underway. We got, two fuel cell alpha trucks that's going to be delivered in January for road testing. And we're going to beta build based on what we learn, and then ultimately gamma build, and having started production in second half of 2023. You tell me, who will have fuel cell truck in terms of addressing medium haul up to 500 miles that's purpose built by second half of 2023. We don't believe there are any competitors out there.
And I mean, and you'll be able to sort of build on that, right? Because given the lead, you start to execute on that. That from a customer perspective, that's kind of, that could really change the whole story.
That's what we're trying to achieve. We know that there's some advantage in terms of being first in the marketplace. As you know, when it comes to adoption of fuel cell trucks, the key really is to make sure that we have fueling infrastructure. And when it comes to zero emission trucks, it's all about not just carrots, but also stick. And so we have tightening regulatory environment where for certain locations, you will not be able to drive, let's say, diesel trucks. And you got more carrots. This is the first time at the federal level where we are talking about direct tax credit for zero emission vehicles, as well as production tax credit for hydrogen. Now, these are really meaningful, and I'm not sure if investors fully appreciate what that means. Think about solar.
Yeah, could we go into that a little more,
Sure.
Kim?
Sure.
Like almost like a exercise, yeah.
Sure. I mean, think about solar and wind. They have benefited federal production tax credit. And so we have seen a drastic reduction in costs for both solar and wind over the last 10 years. If you would have asked anyone at the beginning of that 10 years period what they thought that the cost might be for electricity generation for solar and wind, no one would guess that it would drop down to 2 cents per kilowatt hour. And so what we're suggesting is that production tax credit for hydrogen is huge. This is up to $3 per kilogram, and it really depends on the carbon intensity index in terms of what it takes to generate that hydrogen. And so, for example, what we have stated when we talk about our infrastructure, when we are public, we talked about mostly on-site gaseous generation commercial stations, about 8 ton per day. And we said that would cost purely from CapEx around $17 million or so, 16, 17 million. But we said when it comes to operating costs, almost 80 to 85% of that cost is based on electricity. So it's absolutely critical to procure long-term PPAs on electricity at the right price. We've demonstrated that in Arizona, where we have a rate schedule now from APS for less than 2.5 cents. We also said we have expanded our view and articulated holistically how we think about hydrogen value chain and the pathway. We said we now have three-pronged strategy. First leg is on-site gaseous generation stations. Second leg, hub and spoke. This is centralized hydrogen production. And then distributing that hydrogen to stations that's owned by Nikola or stations that we to our partners. And then third leg of that strategy is third-party offtake agreements. We have started executing on both of those, and we have articulated to the marketplace. I don't believe that they fully understand it, but let's think about hub and spoke. We have announced that we will partner with TC Energy. They are midstream traditional gas pipeline player, but who's changing? As you know, their next 10 years of revenue growth story was really Keystone XL. When that got canceled, they understood that they really need to transition from traditional energy such as gas to hydrogen. They decided to partner with us. This is a perfect marriage. They are cash rich. They generate $13 billion of revenue annually, 80% gross profit margin, 20%, 50% EBITDA, and they generate $6 billion of cash from operations. They need to be able to deploy that cash. And so we have agreed, we are looking at over 10 different hub projects. These are large hub projects, anywhere from 150 tons to 100 tons, potentially even 200 tons per day. So in terms of scale, a 100-ton hub is equivalent to about 12 of our 8-ton commercial stations. And so think about, we can generate hydrogen at a large hub using electricity rate, because our first hub will be in Arizona using APS rate, using electricity rate at 2.5 cents per kilowatt hour. And we are confident that we can generate hydrogen well below $3. And when you apply upstream production tax credit, the number gets really exciting, right? So if you're generating hydrogen all of a sudden at, let's say, $3, and depending on how you generate that hydrogen, your incentive could be $3 per kilogram all the way down to about 30 cents, okay? So any subsidy that you would apply,
it's a huge change.
It's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. We think there will be a bit of gold rush. That's on the hydrogen production tax credit. But now let's think about on zero emission Class 8 trucks. This is the first time at a federal level.
Kim, one thing before we get to
Sure.
On the hydrogen, do you have any examples of an average customer, this would save them X on a yearly basis? Is there some?
So here's how we're thinking about that, Dan. What we have always stated to our customers is that we will be competitive and match their TCO, meaning truck acquisition cost, repair and maintenance, as well as fuel costs. So when you think about diesel, and we want to make sure that while we're being super competitive when it comes to on-highway solution customers, so what we call tractor customers, we want to be competitive with their diesel. But at the same time, with production tax credit, we could actually save them money. Now, we want to be thoughtful so that we're not giving away all of our incentives that we receive. We always want to be competitive. What will likely happen, or it may happen, and it's hard to predict commodity price. But however, as there's energy transition to hydrogen, for medium haul and long haul. As demand for diesel decline, likely the price for diesel will increase. And so we want to be thoughtful in terms of how we price that. We always want to be competitive, and customers not going to convert or adapt to zero emission vehicles overnight, right? It's going to be somewhat gradual, and that curve will pick up. And so we want to make sure that we're not giving away everything. So we gotta be thoughtful in terms of the lower the price, we know that you will increase the adoption. At the same time, we also want to be competitive with diesel so that we're not giving away all the margins fast. And so that's something that we need to think about.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah, it's a balancing act.
Are you so like when we look? I mean, I think 2021, like you've defied, I think, a lot of what the skeptics thought. I mean, you've navigated through the storm. You've really, from a technology perspective, made significant sort of headway. But when we look at 2022, like if you had almost put it into like 2 or 3 priorities or buckets, what are the keys for investors, or even internally, from a management, from a board, from an engineering perspective, when we look at Nikola over the next year?
One, deliver on the build that we commit to for 2022 BEV trucks. To be able to do that, that means that we will have to have a procured key critical components so that we can build the trucks that we commit to the marketplace, and then continue to build that backlog. We believe once we have trucks out in the market, and as we start to receive favorable reviews from our customers, we believe our backlog will expand. We want to be able to demonstrate that expansion of our backlog for Tre BEV. When it comes to Tre fuel cell, we think we'll receive very favorable review about the quality of our trucks and performance. And once again, it's building that backlog with additional customer wins and announcements. As you know, we will continue to build out our dealer network and service network. That's really important to us. We have coverage in 26 states now, Northeast, Southeast, Southwest, in Midwest. We're trying to ensure that we got better coverage in the Midwest. So having critical infrastructure with respect to repair and maintenance, especially for commercial trucks, are absolutely important, and we're doing that. And then when it comes to hydrogen infrastructure, we want to make sure that we start break ground on hydrogen up. We want to execute on our temporary solution with respect to mobile hydrogen fueling solutions that we have until hydrogen stations and hubs are running. And so we are executing that. But we want to be able to announce the ground break with respect to hydrogen hub here in Arizona. And we are also planning to make an announcement with respect to hydrogen station. We've already made an announcement with respect to third-party offtake agreements, starting with WVR, and we anticipate there will be many more like that. So think about WVR project, where we have an investment into an asset where it's being repurposed to generate hydrogen. So it's going to be using petcoke gasification plant, where carbon will be captured and sequestered. This DOE is one of #1 priority, and they're funding most of that transition. We will have 20% interest, and that asset will have available in terms of incentives, either Q45 or hydrogen production tax credit. And then we also have 20% offtake agreement for hydrogen. So we are confident that we'll be able to buy hydrogen at the gate, meaning at the plant, for less than $1, including transportation costs. We think we can deliver hydrogen to our dispensing stations at lower than $2. And so that's pretty exciting. If you think about in the Midwest, where you tend to have perhaps more expensive electricity costs, we can take third-party offtake agreements and able to deliver hydrogen where carbon has been sequestered. So this is ultimately 99.9999% clean and pure hydrogen for our customers in the most intense and busy Class A truck corridor, as well as the biggest demand for Class A trucks in such a concentrated area. So if we can execute that next year, then we'll be on a road to significant stabilization.
Look, I mean, Kim, I appreciate you, and obviously Dylan and team being here, and I think just a lot of challenges, but you really, as a team, navigate a lot of it. It seems like your momentum is just continuing to build into 2022, and look forward to seeing all the improvements at the plant in Arizona. Hopefully I'll be there in the coming weeks, and thanks again. I think I'm not sure if you're going to be at CES, but any investors out there, we could always set up meetings there or virtual, wherever it may be.
Thank you.
So, Kim, thanks so much. Okay. And everyone just hop back on, in 15 minutes for the next forum. Thank you.